Good morning and welcome to this training session on the device behind me, our Lennox Sapiens combination oven. There are various models available in this range. This particular one I have behind me is the 10 grid. All the operational part of it, the control panel, they're exactly the same across the full range. It's the capacity that changes and also the loading. The model I have behind me, as I said, is a 10 grid oven and it is portrait load mode. So before I go into the control panel and the operation of the unit, I just want to again welcome you, but also just start by saying, with your device, please do not store any items on the top of your device. We have got an exhaust at the back and there's also a valve in front, which is there to monitor and also to manage the humidity and your steam inside your cooking chamber. So please do not store anything on top of your oven that can depress that. That's dangerous, but also it will make the unit malfunction. Okay, underneath your unit, the unit will come on a stand. And please store carefully underneath your stand. Don't stack it too high. And be aware of any cables or any pipe work for the plumbing that might be exposed. Normally it's nicely tucked in underneath, but just make sure that you do not knock that or store it too high. And that's your unit nicely managed and ready to go. So in the morning when we come in for our duty, we will put the mains on wherever your circuit breakers are, put your three-phase mains on, and that will be energy then to your unit. It's very important to also follow this procedure in the evening to switch it off by your mains as well after you've isolated your unit locally on the control panel, which I'll show you at the end of the session. So in front you have your control panel to the right with 3 dials or 3 knobs, which I'll activate in a second. You've got your double panel glass door with a single action door opening handle. Okay, and now we'll proceed accordingly. So during the course of the training session as well, I will flip in between cameras and I will go to camera 2 now to show you the operation of the control panel. Okay, so we have our control panel over here. And as you can see, although there's energy to the unit, it's sitting and it's absolutely no energy going into it at the moment to activate anything from happening. To do so, go to your scroller on the bottom. It's got a little knife and fork on it. And if you suppress that for a couple of seconds, you'll have action coming up. So now already we can see on this little screen on the bottom here as well, the oven is requiring me to perform a call out. Remember the word call out, that will come up towards the end when I'm going through the washing cycles. I'll explain quickly what call out means. So call out is a function that will manage your boiler and descale the boiler, thus increasing the lifespan of your boiler, but also the efficiencies of your unit, which enables it to steam very, very efficiently and get those foods nice and vibrant and green, vivid colors, beautiful textures, and so on. So it's very important to perform the call out when you are required to do so. The warning will come up as you see in the morning, as soon as you switch on the unit. But take in consideration, you might be very busy that morning. So for now, I want to start with a training session. I'm going to cancel that, but I'm going to remember for myself, I need to perform the call out. But there's 2 other warnings that will come as well to remind you about that. When you are going into your washing cycle at the end of the day, it will give you the opportunity to do a wash and a call out together, which is great. So you can do those 2 in one go. And again, I will show you to that when I get to the cleaning stages. If you completely ignore that and forget about that, close the unit down at the end of the day. The next morning when you're coming in and you switch it on, this warning will come up, number 2, and you'll have an inquiry on top there to say in amber that you need to perform a call out. That is your second warning or your second strike. I do recommend that you do it as soon as possible after you've seen that. If you then disengage again, like I'm going to do now, because this is my second warning that I've had for the call out, you have to perform it immediately when you receive it on the 3rd day. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that out now, then I'm going to go to my standby mode. So now you've got energy coming through to your unit and your unit's in standby mode, ready for action. These units are designed and developed to heat up extremely fast. So you will get from an ambient temperature of 23 degrees ambient in the kitchen to roughly about 160 degrees within 5 minutes. You've got your 3 modes on the top: dry heat, steam, and combination cooking, which is a combination of these 2. All right. We also have the opportunity then to engage, and immediately it will preset the oven for you to 160. This is a default temperature, which you can adapt or change to your heart's content. If you prefer the oven to start heating up in the morning to 180 degrees, but you also want to inform it that you require a preheat, it's not a problem. Press your scroller in once, turn your dial to where you want to be. You can either leave it for a couple of seconds and it will engage, or you can force it. Once it stops flashing, the unit has recognized that's the new setting parameter you want, and then it will proceed to heat up to that temperature. On the bottom screen, you can see the display INF for infinite cooking, but I actually want to know and preheat. I want to get my oven to 180. So I'll deep press again the button, go to PRE, which means preheat, accepting that. And now the unit will tell you on the screen on the bottom, it is in preheat mode, and it will alert you when it's ready for loading. All these lovely features are designed to not only save time and effort, but also to save energy for unnecessarily keeping the oven on full blast if you're not going to be requiring it for cooking immediately. It will alert you with a good audible noise sound to tell you, please, the oven is ready, let's start loading it in. So at this stage, of course, for culinary requirements, it's beneficial to ensure your oven has preheated to the temperature required and then load it in and start cooking. I'll skip that now for the purposes of the training demonstration, and I'm going to come out of this program. So I'm going to scroll back again. So every time you want to return to where you were, scroll back. The oven goes back into standby mode. So that's just a return button, and you return to the stages before. If I then go back to the dry heat cooking, the oven will kick in. It will go back to the original default temperature setting at 160, which it always will do. You have now the opportunity in dry heat to adjust auto climber, which I'll explain in a second. We are cooking now on infinite timer, which you can also set the timer if you go clockwise or anti-clockwise to preheat, or to infinite, or right for a timer. So this will be a timer again. Let it flash for a few seconds or initiate the process accordingly. It will start flickering, which means it's counting down. To disengage, go back again to where you were. Okay. And now your oven's on infinite and will maintain the temperature once it reaches that for as long as you want to keep the oven on. You, of course, have the opportunity also with these modern combination ovens to cook on core probe, which is the button underneath here. And to engage that, you'll press the core probe button. It's going to ask you what the core temperature of the product is that you want to cook. So for instance, I want to go to 60, let's make it legal and go to 73 degrees. 73 degrees, engage. And now the core probe will tell me what the current temperature of it is. If I then go to camera number 1, I will show you where the location of the core probe is. So in front of the control panel over here, and I'm trying not to stand in front of the camera, our core probe is situated here, and it's connected to your control hub there. And the core probe is there for you to do your core probe cooking, whether it's bigger, larger joints, bigger products, smaller joints, or even smaller products like your chicken breast and so forth. By inserting it into the product, sliding it through your door, close the door behind it, and then it will be cooking on the temperature on top. Once it reaches the desired temperature you set it at, the oven will alert you that your product is cooked, and then you can remove it from the oven. When you are finished and completed with the process, take your core probe out from the oven chamber, clean and sanitize it, put it back into the guide rail, into the clip holder, and then back into its socket. Okay. That's it, neatly stored out of the way, nice and tidy. So that's the core probe cooking. I'll close the door and we can go back to camera number 2. Okay. So I'm not going to cook on the core probe now, so that's the way to initiate that. When I spoke about auto climber earlier, auto climber is the management of humidity inside the chamber, and that is very unique to these devices. So by depressing that again, it will give me a value. Sorry, I need to value that first. It will give me a value of H99. So at the moment, I'm only retaining 1% humidity inside the oven chamber. Now, please don't, I don't want to, what's the correct word to use is, this is not an injection of extra water or extra steam into the chamber. This one is capturing that humidity that's been made up from when you are cooking a product. So I'm using 1% at the moment, retaining that, but you can set it to wherever you want. So imagine if you want to cook really, really nice chicken breast, crispy, but you still want to retain some humidity, then you'll drop it down to 70, which will retain 70% dry heat, 30% humidity will be extracted. Okay, so that's on autoclimb, and you can use that on dry only. On steam we can do and initiate, and you can jump seamlessly between the three functions where you want to go. So with steam, the default setting is 100. You can bring it down to wherever you want, bearing in mind that 99 degrees to 100 degrees are normally optimum for steam manufacturing. So we also have the opportunity with the Sapiens to bring it up to 130 degrees steam. And that will incorporate 30 degrees Celsius extra temperature inside the oven chamber to give you a bit of more robust steaming for those products which are larger, more dense, celiac, Swedes, bigger joints of meat that you want to get really, really tender. So we have the opportunity to go actually up to 130. And as you can see, not behind the unit at the moment, but you can certainly hear it from the microphone. The steaming has already kicked into process, and saying that the unit will preheat itself very, very fast and get to the temperatures you require. On the next function, we've got combination cooking, and I can set the temperature the way I want to go. I'm going to stay at 180. I'm happy with this temperature parameter. And now if I select the auto climber function, it will give me the opportunity now to nominate how much steam injection I want into the unit. So by decreasing the value, I'm increasing the steam amount into the chamber. Now I'm putting in 20% extra steam opposed to the dry heat I have. And that's really how simple it is to operate your control panel. Okay. Regardless of my training regime I'm giving today, these can also be easily referred to in the user manual, and it's quite clear in there how to proceed. And alternatively, pick up the phone at any time, give us a call, and we'll be gladly running you through the sequence again. And the video is always, of course, there available for you guys. In the parameter I have over here on the screen, I now have the opportunity as well. And if I look at the little fans on the bottom here with the dots, I have the possibility of actually managing my fan speed. And over here, I've got 12 variables. So I can bring my fan speed down to minimal at 1. And slowly you'll hear the fan decreasing itself. I also have the possibility of bringing it to the next 6 level, which is intermittent spin, and it gives you a pulsating action for the fan inside the oven chamber. Even heat circulation inside your oven chamber for more delicate cooking. So that is the basic operation of the unit that you need to know about how to operate and to get started really, really fast. So my oven's been running the whole day on cooking. It's now on standby mode. And if I go to camera 2 again, you can see the unit's on standby mode. Remember, I was in a cooking cycle and I pressed return. So I go into standby mode. Now your oven is safe to shut down. If you were performing a cleaning cycle, of course, you will do it after the cleaning cycle. But for the purposes of the training, I will just show you how to do that straight away. So take your scroller again, hold it in for a few seconds. Now there's not the energy coming to your unit, and now your oven is safe to switch off by your mains. And it's important to follow that sequence. The reason for that is when you come back the next morning, you've switched it on by the mains, and then you come and switch it on by the unit. I need to do a call out again, which I need to perform really hard to do that. Then you can start straight away. A safety feature, which is fantastic about these devices, that if your unit was not shut down properly the night before or after service, you'll have a warning coming up here to say that it's testing all the parameters. It's making sure your unit is safe. Only when it's happy when the unit is safe, then you'll receive this appearance, and that will allow you to start cooking immediately. If the unit was shut down by not shutting it down here, and it was in the middle of a washing cycle, and you just switched it off by the mains, the unit will then go back to that cleaning cycle and start the process all over again to ensure that your oven chamber is completely safe and ready for performance. Okay, so that's very important to remember. In due course, I will open up the oven door and I'll take the camera, I'll just swing it at a slight angle just to show you the inside of the chamber as well. But these following items I'm going to show you are also quite important to remember. And it will help you again for better performance, better longevity of your oven, and so forth. So I'm going to return to my main camera, camera number 3, and then I'll show you quickly what you're also going to get. So with the welcome pack of your unit, you will receive a starter kit box. And in the starter kit box, there's various products and items available. So you have your user manual. Of course, this is brand new, so everything is really tight still. So you've got your user manual, which is in a nice little box. It comes like this. And you also have an odd-looking tool, and that's a spanner. So this spanner is quite important, and especially for the opening of your cleaning detergents. So for safety purposes, they are tightened, of course, very well, and to stop any spillages and so forth. And again, they will be very difficult then afterwards to start opening up from scratch. Okay. The spanner is there really just to help you to loosen it slightly, and it will make it easier for you to then change the chemicals inside your oven. With the Lennox devices, we follow a regime of liquid cleaning detergents. So always with the yellow container and the yellow lid. This one is your combi cleaning detergent. This particular one is a sample just for the purposes of demonstrating. But also when you receive your units, these will be supplied with your unit as a sample. So as you can see, there's not a lot of liquid in there, but you will still get a number of washes out from that. But it's very important that you order the chemicals as soon as possible after receiving your unit. And this applies especially to the cal-free detergent. So the cal-free detergent is there for the management of your boiler. And that process, as I explained in the training session number 1, is called cal-out. Okay? This detergent you will need to perform that cleaning cycle of your boiler. The yellow liquid is there to clean your oven chamber. So it's 2 different liquids for that. It's in liquid format. So the smaller Sapien models, the 6 grid and the compact units, will take these containers as well as the 10 grids. The 20 grid combis and the 40 grid combis will come in a bigger container, which is external of the unit. It still forms the same emphasis of the plumbing, but it's just bigger containers, also labeled clearly via Kosh with a yellow lid and a green lid as well. Inside your pack as well, you will find safety data sheets or cost sheets, which is applicable to these chemicals. They need to be kept safe. I would recommend making a copy and keeping a copy in the kitchen close by the device as well, like you would do for everything else when it comes to cost regulations. So have a kitchen cost folder, and your backup will be, and your masters will be inside the office. For the management and storekeeping, stock taking, or stock keeping for your chemicals, I would always recommend keep 1 in the door, which I'll show you now, or 1 on the floor, and then 2 in the store. These chemicals get supplied as 2 in a box. The bigger containers come separately, individually. So the 2 in a box is brilliant because once 1 is in the door, you've got 1 in the store. If you're changing it, phone the order through, and the chemicals will be delivered to you in time for your next session. The question is often asked, how long do the chemicals last? The answer is, how often do you wash the oven? And the other answer on top of that will be, you should wash it as often as possible. So I would recommend at least once a day. After service, of course, you can have a look at the oven, have a look on the inside, how dirty is it? And that will determine for you, am I going to do a hard wash today, a softer wash? If you've only done minor cooking, perhaps a rinse will be enough, which doesn't use any chemical at all. And again, I will show that process for you when you get to the screen later, and we'll run through that. Okay, so if we go to camera number 1, then I will show you where the chemicals are situated in the device, and just quickly show you how to change them as well. Okay, so camera number 1 is on. So I've got the door open, and if you can see over here, you've got 2 drawers. You also have a spray gun over here. Okay, and your chemicals are situated inside these trays. For easy access and to get the chemicals out, slide the tray out towards you. Okay, and now it's very important to remember to wear as much PPE as possible and according to your house rules. I would always recommend wearing some form of protective gloves on your arms. Of course, you need to wear goggles because it's a chemical and it can splash. And then the normal wear of your apron and any other protection that you can team and find to protect yourself. The chemicals are strong, and again, you should read the cost sheet and familiarize yourself with the procedures there in case there's a scald or a spillage. Okay, so I'm going to put on these gloves, which will protect me. And again, I'll come down to the unit. So to get them out, these are already filled in. Pull it towards you. Wait for the tide to stop. And once that's settled, then I'm going to loosen the lid. What I've done, this is for changing a now or for placing a new one in. When you are replacing a new cartridge into the drawer, keep the lid on it. Remember, you have loosened it just slightly so it's easier for you to turn it. Keep the lid secure. Slide it into the drawer. Take your cap off. Inside here is a nice little drawer where we can store it. Keep your cap. Keep the cap. Put the valve cap on. Tighten it, not too much. Just tighten it till you get torque. Slide your container back into the tray. Close the door and slide it back into the unit. You would do the same with the cal-out liquid. So the yellow detergent will always be on your right-hand side, and you can easily see that by means of the lid. The lid will fit and the valve will fit exactly the lid that was put onto your previous one. And the same will be for your cal-out liquid over here. Again, when you're changing it, making sure that the tide will stop so there's no splashing. Then securely remove the lid, place it in there, put on the valve lid, and that's you ready to go. Close the door, push it back in, and now you can proceed with the cooking. You need to keep an eye on the chemicals, and then I would say roughly about anything between 15 to 23 washes you'll get from a cartridge, and the cal-out will determine on how many cal-outs you have performed or have been requested to do. Okay, just so you keep an eye on that level. While I'm at this particular area where I'm working now, I'll just highlight a few other things. You have this drawer over here where you can store little products in, like the lids. That's fantastic. Or you can see there's a USB port over here, and the USB port has got a waterproof protector in it. Sorry for my arms being in the way. There's the USB port, securely back, and that's for maintenance, but also if you have a number of these units throughout your estate, to transfer data from the one unit to the next, or if you're transferring recipes from the one unit to the next, which is programmed into your unit. You also have a sprayer nozzle over here, which is on a retractable cord, on a retractable hose, apologies. Okay, and that is there. You can rinse your unit out, but I never recommend using this, spraying it into a hot chamber. Wait for the chamber to cool down first before you activate your sprayer. And again, for that, it's good for topping up. If you're making stews or you're doing braising inside the oven, or you're forming some form of steaming rice and you want to add some more moisture to the rice, use your water sprayer for that, and it works very, very good. Again, you can rinse your unit out for that, but it has an automated function. It will do that for you anyway, so it's there for your use. In between this panel over here and your main panel on top, if you go to the left and right, and I'll go back to the main camera, I'll show you about the oven filter. So this filter is very, very important, and this maintains the integrity of all your electrical components, which is in your control panel. Okay, you need to make this part of your housekeeping, so I would say as well, not every single day, perhaps once a week, go with a dry brush, brush off any debris that might have been caught in there, any dust particles or any fragments that might have caught, which can damage the inside of your components. So it's very important to keep that clean. You can, of course, also push this through a dishwasher if you wanted to. It's dishwasher safe. I just prefer to have mine and make sure I clean it as much as often with a dry brush, and it will stay perfectly well for many, many years to come. Okay, but you can wash it. Just make sure it's well dried before you replace it. And to replace it, if I go back to the bottom camera again, slide it in. That's it, safely stored away until the next time. So I've covered the bottom bit. You've seen the Pro before. I'll go quickly back again to my control panel, and then we'll have a look about the programming. So you've seen the three methods of cooking. You understand all these parameters over here. Now we're going to talk about your programmability of the unit and what other unique features you have with the device. So come out of a cycle of cooking that you were in by pressing the return button. When you get the return button, go to menu, and then options will become available. So option number 1 is interactive cooking. What is this? So interactive cooking is all the recipes that are all the recipes which are stored on here, and there should be 1 to 99. These recipes have all been tested and verified, so they are accurate for this particular device, and you can utilize any of them by just pressing the on button. Your unit will go into preheat mode. Once it reaches temperature for that recipe, you can slot your product in and it will cook it accordingly. To come out of that, press the return button. Now you can see I'm busy with tomato sauce. You can adjust your fan speed setting, for instance, and go back. Activate the menu again. So interactive cooking is there for you to use. Again, you can read up more about this in your user manual, which gives full descriptions on how that works. However, if you want to make your own recipes, you can do so as well. And there's ample storage inside your device to store as many as what your heart will need. So personal recipes, I'm going to press that. And then from here, select the program that's empty, and then you'll start building up that recipe accordingly, saving it to the end. Following this process is quite easy. Again, all the instructions are detailed down in your user manual, and just follow that step by step. Once you've done a couple, it's easy then again to manage that for future use. Okay, so that's the personal recipe over there. I've stored one in there before. If you do want to use a new program, go to new program. And this is actually how to develop one. So I've done programs 1 to 2. So 2 is open now. If I press on there, and again, follow these steps, it will set you up for that recipe where you're able to save it. Again, like I said before, follow the user manual step by step. It will get you there accordingly. So first what we need to do is we need to select what cooking mode we are in. So we're going to do dry heat. I'm quite happy with 160. I'm going to go to infinite. First preheat, of course, yep. Happy with that. And then I'm going to start with my recipe. Session number 2, I'm going to read till about, maybe make that 170 degrees. Yep, happy with that. Cook it for 23 minutes. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with my fan speed settings. So I will then accept. You have the option as well to delete a phase or to make a new phase, but I want to save this recipe now because I'm quite happy with those parameters. This is just an example. Now we can start cooking and making a name for it. So an icon selection to identify what I'm doing. So my recipe over there was for something pastry-wise, so let's look for anything patisserie. There we go. So I'm going to bake make my bread at that temperature. I'm happy with that. I've selected an icon, and now you can select the name. Press it and initiate it, and just start following the keyboard and writing a recipe for you. Of course, you don't want to have 02 program in front of that, so you can delete. Go again on the keyboard. I'm looking for bread. By scrolling clockwise and anti-clockwise, you can maneuver your way around the keyboard. So I'm happy with that. Go to OK. I'm happy with that. I've got a program called bread. It's program number 2. My icon is bread. Save it. And that's you set and ready to go straight away for cooking. Press start and then away you go. Okay, and that's how easy it is really to write a recipe. A lot of people will probably not use this function, but it's there for your use, and it's also good for continuity, consistency, and standardization of menu products. I go back to my menu. So we have interactive cooking, which are the recipes that sit on there. We've got personal, which are your own recipes, and if I tick on that, you can see program number 2 now is bread, which we've just programmed together. Scroll back. New program is to write one. Modify program is to edit one. Delete the program is then to delete one of those recipes that you've just done or a lot of them. We go to settings, which I can show to you a little bit later, and then services. Services is a function that you will not use, and it's also passcode protected, and they are there for the technicians to use. A very, very important feature of this little program over here on the screen is your access to the washing sequences. So already now you can see it says washing and callout. It will only say callout once the unit requires a callout, and that's to save chemicals and also to save finances for yourself. If you don't need a callout, you don't have to perform it. Using less chemical costs you less money. I can now do a fast wash, or I can go to a callout, but you can do a wash and a callout together, and then just select it as what you need. So if your unit was heavily soiled, you use a harder wash. If it's really, really badly soiled, then use a grill wash and a callout. And there are many, many options there for you to use. They all work and based on time. So the time will determine for you how clean your unit will be afterwards. So I do recommend always every day, if you can, do a fast washing cycle. It's only 11 minutes. And at the end of the week, go through one of the hard washing cycles. So as you can see, there are many options for you. Okay. If I then go back to the menu and I go to the settings, there are a number of options. So in the settings, you can set your date and time, which I've done already, which is on the screen as you come in. The USB, if you want to transfer any data to a USB device and then take it to another unit for uploading it there, then you'll initiate the USB. You can also download the HACCP profiles for this particular unit, and that's specifically related to your oven temperature at a current and specific time. So it's algorithmic data which you can use towards your HACCP records. The HACCP profile does not override all your HACCP responsibilities that you still have to do by manual probing your food items and recording that. This is a good backup to state what your oven temperatures were like at certain given times. I still recommend following your normal procedures as well. You can select the language. We can now also do some light settings. So you've got a couple of options. You can have eco light, where the light inside the unit will go off after the minutes that you select, and that will just save energy. You can have the lights blink, so and the time where your timer goes off and the buzzer goes off as well. You can have the light start to blink to show you the unit needs to have something extracted from it. Or you can cancel that blink completely and just have the light on as normal. So when your door goes open, the light will then come on as well when it's in the cooking mode. The buzzer volume is very, very important to have as well. And this will allow you in very, very busy kitchens then to adapt the audibility of your device. So at the moment I'm sitting at 40 decibels, which I think for me is a good level. But again, you can increase it and decrease that as needed. 40 for me is a standard decibel level for normal size kitchens. The measuring in the unit is standard and Celsius or Fahrenheit. This particular unit is set up in Celsius. You can change it to Fahrenheit if that is your denomination that you want to use. You're able to lock the oven, which I never recommend doing. You need a passcode for that. And if you do lock the oven, it will take these parameters away so that the actual users can only access your cooking modes and they can't go and change recipes and any of the parameters that you've done. Good thing for a chain of restaurants, but specifically one, make sure that you will then memorize and keep your passcode safe for future use. There's a favorites management folder here where you can move your recipes up and down or your functions. Chamber value visualizer, you're able then also to change. I can't go into it now. You can change your temperature so it comes up incrementally, so you can see your temperature rising. And then when it gets to the set temperature, that will stay in that parameter. Or you can have your preset temperature and that all the time and until your oven reaches the temperature. Okay. The core probe is enabled, as you can see over here. We've used it earlier. And again, you can disable it if you want, but if the core probe is incorporated already in the unit, keep it enabled. You also have a feature of shutting down the device after end of washing cycle. Pretty much it works on a timer. When your washing cycle is done, the unit will shut itself down automatically. I always recommend that although you can do that, it's still to do it yourself and switching it off by the mains. Okay, boiler, you can see your boiler management requires a call out and so forth. Software update, the engineers will take care of that. And that is your settings folder. So compact, in this little part over here, we've got access to your menu with loads of features in it. Okay. So normally at this time I engage when I'm with the clients to ask them if they have any questions. But finally, I also want to just take the camera and show you the inside of the unit and what to expect there. So I'm going to go back to this camera over here quickly, and I'm going to bring the camera into the device so you can see a little bit more. Okay. So the inside of the chamber, the unit does not come supplied with oven racks. This we need to get. It's 1x1 gastro compatible, and it's portrait loading. These racks are, of course, removable as well. The shelving is removable as well, which you can wash separately. But equally, when you're doing the washing cycle, wash them with the shelves in it, and it will clean it optimally. If you find that there's any areas of heavy debris buildup, which the cleaning chemical has not created a clean environment, which I've never found with the units before, it might just require a bit of manual action. And again, I wouldn't use excessively abrasive liquids or detergents. But if you want to get it off, you can remove it and get to those areas. As I said before, I've never experienced the units not cleaning itself fully as well, but you can do that. Okay, there's a drain cover in the middle of the oven. And again, that's removable to make sure you clean and get rid of all the debris that might be collected around the sides. To the left, our oven door has two LED lights. And these LED lights are situated behind a double panel glass. The glass can be easily shifted. I'll try and do it with one hand while I'm holding the camera. Maybe I'll just push it down for a second. There we go. So this way you can access then the panel behind if you want to change the LED strip lights, which is just on a screw as you can see, or if you need to clean behind the glass itself as well. A regular inspection of the component parts is probably good practice. So I always recommend making sure that the trough is always nice and clear of any food debris. And the same applies to the secondary trough over the here, as well as the filter, which is situated there. There's a little removable filter right in the corner there. Okay. And as you can see, there's a little bridge gap over here. So this bridge will take the liquid or any moisture buildup from this little trough over here and takes it across to that trough. And it will remove it down to the normal drain via a filter over there. It's quite important as well, just periodically to check your oven door seal and make sure it doesn't have any cuts in it. These components are long life components and very, very robust. However, it's always good practice just to double check that everything is intact, they're not torn or damaged, which needs replacing, because that will definitely affect your cooking performance inside your oven chamber. As I mentioned before as well, the door is on a single swing action. Left open, right open. I recommend that when you have been cooking at higher temperatures, that you release the door, leave it stand ajar for a few seconds for the humidity or the moisture and build up inside to escape, and then open it fully to have inside visual inspection or extract the foods that were cooked. I will conclude by going back to the main camera. So as I briefly quickly mentioned, all the 1x1 gastro trays can fit into that particular oven. So it's 1x1 gastro compatible, portrait load. We also have models available, landscape load 1x1 gastro compatible. Of course, oven grids are very important. So if you're not cooking on 1x1 gastro trays, that you need to cook on a smaller accessory or smaller tray or a pan or a pot to go in here, then you will obviously need the oven grids. All these are available through distribution, or you can get it from Falcon. We can supply that as well. Same with the chemical. Please stock up. Chemicals are available. We have plenty in stock, and it's always ready for dispatch the very next day. So on that note, I want to congratulate you on your fantastic device, the Lennox Sapiens combination oven. We are always here to help. My line's always open. If there's anything culinary I can assist you with, please pick up the phone. We'll run it through it again. If there's anything about the video that you want to have some clarity about, again, send me an email, get in contact, and we'll get those details through for you. And I thank you for your time today. Goodbye.